Working in this community for 28 years, I'm vested in the community. It first started with the budget cuts of social services, the budget cuts of mental health services, the budget cuts of addiction services. Once that happened, there were more people out on the street.
We're spending $100 million a year in Portland, Oregon, and we still have 2,100 people unsheltered on the streets, and probably as many as 16,000, maybe more, people who are homeless.
This is our city. This is where my kids are growing up. This is where my mother still lives, my friends. And we are all astounded that the city has had this facility and been unable to figure out how to use it when we are struggling with people on the street. And it breaks my heart to see anyone in distress in this community. And we're not seeing the leadership that I think we expect.
Artificial intelligence is having a devastating effect. We grew 200,000 jobs, I think it was in July. 200,000 jobs disappeared for 55 and older.
What we've discovered is because unemployment is a key contributor to being homeless, and because we still do have discriminatory practices with people who are finding it difficult to find jobs, our work is even more important to make sure that we're addressing those populations in a responsible way.
There's a continuum of problems and a continuum of need, from really bad, like chronically homeless, mentally ill, with a criminal record, to people who are just about to become homeless because $993 a month in Social Security won't keep them in their home.
The whole idea of triage just is not happening. You know, we're using this title, which is, gosh, people are homeless, or they're houseless. It's the houseless community. But really within that, there's a lot of different reasons why people are houseless. What we need to do is we need to spend time figuring out, talking to them and figuring out what their reasons are and how they can be uplifted from the street.
At 2:30 in the morning, when somebody either is in mental health crisis or just needs help, and somebody calls the police, calls 911, that person's in mental health crisis, I don't have a facility to take them to. I have to take them to a hospital emergency room. After 2 hours, the hospital emergency room is not set up to be a mental health drop-off. It's meant to be an emergency room for people with emergencies. Once they ask the magic words, they get that person settled down, they release them. The hospital is 3 to 4 miles away from where I picked this person up. It's 4:30 in the morning, it's raining, it's dark. All their property was left where they were at because we can't transport all their property. So now this person has to walk all the way back to where their property was. Most of it is gone. And then, of course, the vicious cycle again is 2 to 3 weeks later, I get called at 2:30 in the morning, the same person, but now they're upset because they know what's going to happen when I take them to the hospital. We're creating this vicious circle ourselves because we have no other resources, we have no other outlets to be able to provide to people.
I was approached by my landlord. He wanted me to do things that were not appropriate sexually. I was not okay with that. I started getting eviction notices. Needless to say, I didn't have any money for the move-in costs. Just one thing can go wrong in your life.
Well, I first got personally involved in homelessness because of a trip to San Antonio. I read about and decided to visit a place called Haven for Hope, as it turned out to be probably one of the most successful programs in the country. And what they have is a campus, and they have their service providers. They have probably the highest success rate.
And a place like this that can hold this many people, that can bring help to so many people, some people just want to know that they're okay, that they have somewhere to sleep, there's somewhere safe for them to go. Some people, that's all they want. When people get clean and they change their lives and they're no longer homeless anymore, and when they're doing better things with their life, you wouldn't know. I don't think you would look at me and think, oh, look what she's been through, or I wonder what horrible things have happened in her life. I wonder what struggles she's been through. You wouldn't know, because I'm not that person anymore. I was doing things I said I would never do, in situations I said I would never be in. It wasn't living, it was just making it through every day, but I didn't care if I did or not. I've always had a desire to help people, especially people who have been places that I've been. I want to use the experiences that I've been through for something positive.
There are people in our communities that are vulnerable. There are people who need help. There are people who can't help themselves many times, and they need our help.
20 years ago, we all approved a $58 million bond measure to build a low-intense holding facility. How for 20 years the county could not figure out how to use this amazing facility is beyond me. So we thought this might be an interesting industrial site, and they wanted to start this program with 100 women and 100 men in separate wings. There are 9 wings, each have 18 or 20 bathrooms, showers, classrooms, athletic areas. It's got 10,000 feet of administrative area. It's got medical receiving areas. It's got radiology equipment there, dental equipment. I mean, it's all set to go.
The reason that Volunteers of America has been very much invested in trying to open up a community wellness center, which is repurposing the Wapato jail, which we don't need, which has never been used, which is a wonderfully constructed building, to open that up as a community wellness center where we have a professional intake center, where when people are brought to the center by the police department, we can immediately start talking about how we can temporarily provide them with shelter, but then also see what their needs are in terms of employment, see what their needs are in terms of health care, see what their needs are in terms of mental health counseling. Is there a need for addiction treatment? We do not have a professional intake center in our community. That would be the first step in this community wellness center. We want to have an addiction treatment center. We know that this is a population, many of the people are using drugs on the street. We want to address that. We also want to have an employment counselor. What kinds of tasks do we need to have this person engaged in if we're going to get them ready for employment?
And we are all astounded that the city has had this facility and been unable to figure out how to use it when we are struggling with people on the street. Maybe it's not perfect for some aspect of the homeless, but for abused women and kids that need a place to go for 3 months or 6 months.
If I was a kid and my mom didn't have the money and was on the street, I'd feel much more comfortable being there than I would on the side of the road somewhere or sleep in a car. I came from a very, very poor background. My mom was a secretary for the Educational Service District. She was a single mom. She had epilepsy, so she couldn't drive. There were times where I think my mom just didn't know how we were going to be able to survive and have a place to live. So I understand what that fear is, because kids pick up on that when they're smaller. If people need services, and we can get services to them via shuttle or however we do it, that we should be looking at any place like Wapato.
We bought it based upon the land value, and at the rate we're going, we'll probably be next few months moving ahead to demolish the building, because I can't keep spending $50,000 a month of holding costs just to keep it there waiting for the light to go off in the public sector. And so we've got people freezing in the street, sleeping in the street, dying on the street. You got a facility that we, the community, paid for that no one can figure out how to use.
Transportation is simply an issue we need to resolve. Unfortunately, on our board of directors, the Volunteers of Oregon Board of Directors, we have an expert who said we will solve that problem. We will make transportation services available 24/7. If we have that kind of a commitment and that kind of resource, people will go to services that they believe they need.
Who is it that says that all these homeless folks and some of these folks have to be right downtown in the city center? I mean, when is there a balance between the merchants downtown that every day comes in and people are sleeping and defecating on their front door? Where are the rights of the other folks in the community that are paying taxes, that are working hard, trying to make a living? There has to be a balance here.
I've worked in this community for 28 years as a public servant. So I have an investment in this community. I have an investment to see this community successful. I have an investment to see that they have all the resources that they possibly can have. And I care about this community. This was a place that was going to be used to incarcerate people. Yet now it's a place that we have the ability to give people their freedom, to give people self-esteem, a successful off-ramp back into life, and be able to mainstream back into life in a way that they thought they never would be able to do again.
A homeless person simply has met on hard times. And we need to use first our smarts, then our resources and our commitment to each other to be able to solve this problem. We'll be supporting social service organizations, but most importantly, we'll be supporting families. We'll be supporting families with their kids to get back on track.
So we need new ideas, new thoughts, and we need a whole community of folks to do this.
We need the leadership to help coalesce us and bring us together and show us how we can all work towards solving this problem. And that's what's missing in this community now. There's that statement, too much is given, much is expected. There's room for all of us to contribute and help others. There's such a huge need.